Hey everyone, Lisa Grace here, welcoming you to another episode of the Teach Middle East podcast. Today I'm talking all things AI with John Bell, principal of Bloom World Academy, Dubai. And they have a unique program happening at their school where they're offering a qualification in AI to their students. And I'm very, very curious to find out why they've taken this turn. We can understand why, because AI has become pervasive. But it's quite unique to see a school take the bull by the horns and charge forward with innovation and with implementing a course specifically for their students. John, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
You are most welcome. I was talking to you off air about Bloom World Academy. I think our listeners would love to know what makes Bloom World Academy unique. What makes it a special place of learning?
Well, that's a lovely way of putting it. We are a special place of learning. Since the very beginning, September, August 2022, we've been able to put a vision into action. It was about doing things differently because for many reasons, not least my own personal experiences of working in schools for many years all over the world and in Dubai. I didn't think we were getting it right in education. I still don't think we're getting it completely right in education in many schools all over. So we set about trying to right some of those wrongs in some regard. We've looked at everything we offer, absolutely everything we offer, and we've asked the question right from the very beginning is, why bother? Why do this? What is the difference? And what impact, mostly, it's the most important question, what impact does that have for children, for learners, for students? That's everything's done with that in mind. So the first thing that made us unique, that got the headlines, was we chose, I didn't think it was controversial. If you grew up in London, when I did in the 1970s, everybody went to school at 9 o'clock in the morning. We decided, we asked KHDA, could we start at 9 o'clock in the morning? We thought that was a wise choice, primarily because of traffic in Dubai, just to beat the traffic. Sleep patterns, yeah, arguably. I think children getting home at 6:30, or going to school that early. I remember seeing on various roads in Dubai, because my job took me previously, my last job took me to different schools. Children asleep on school buses, and I thought that's not a good start to the school day. And last but not least, I didn't think it was a great start for teachers to be up so early. If you're going to be a great teacher, you need to be up super early to be really, really on top of your job. With that combined, we were given permission to start at 9, therefore we go to 4. But then we offered something even more unique, I think it'd be more unique or as unique, a flexible day. So we actually offer a day that actually really goes between 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock, and parents can choose and children can choose what they do in that first hour of the morning or that last hour of the day. They can stay, they can go. Or they can do Bellas, which are our enrichment activities, all a significant part of their learning. So that was our big bit of kit to start with. But what was inside, we talked about customised learning and everybody talked about personalised learning, but frankly, it's impossible. You cannot personalise to the nth degree when you're running a busy institution. So you customise, you give children some things that's slightly different. And that was all based around a couple of big things, really. We give every child a learning achievement passport, a plan. Every child has an independent or individual plan here, or targets. The most able do, the least able do, everybody in between, which is most of us, we've all got a plan, a learning achievement passport. So it is individualized. Some of the things we offer and suggest in there is similar to the child next door, but we decided that was the way to go. That was based on previous experience of working with some really challenging children in London. We had to do that. So we just brought that here, but on a bigger scale. And last but not least, I suppose we decided, once you were here, student agency, we decided to really bring student agency alive, give them choices. So in the afternoons, the younger children can choose what they do. It's planned, it's managed, it's broad and balanced, but we give them pathway choices. And within those pathways, we group children together based on a concept called stage, not age. So we put sometimes children who are maybe 6 years old with the 9-year-olds because their level of mathematics may be similar. Why not put them together? Why not challenge them? That also works with languages too. There's some of our big things. So we put it all together, get this customized approach. But what makes us a special place is that we reflect and we review. And what we've discovered fundamentally is not everything in the past is bad, and not everything in the future is necessarily going to be good. Some things that were done in the past, we're a really recycled school in many regards. We look at things, we shine them up, and we reuse them in our relationships with children. Our biggest of probably of the lot, is our relationship with parents. We invite them into school. We have cafes. We have people, parents that is, who work here all day long. It's their base. The internet cafe concept. We have parents in and out of school. We have a rigid, strict, security code or expected levels of conduct in the school. But parents are in school, not necessarily learning alongside their children, but we offer regular, very regular, at least twice a week, parent workshops. So parents learn alongside their children. I can go on. So it's a combination of things that we all put all these things together, some recycled, some new, like AI that we're going to talk about, and put them all together. And it's our Bloom World Academy customized approach, which I have to say, thanks to opportunities like this, people are really beginning to appreciate. And we're getting quite a lot. I mean, we're as busy as we can be. We're full. In 2 years, we are full. We have waiting lists to come into school. So we're striking a chord with some families out there.
Yeah, I love the fact that you start later. I've got kids in school. I'm obviously based in Abu Dhabi, so my kids can't go to Bloom, but that early morning is a killer. And if you don't have that early morning wake up chronotype, you really struggle because you're thinking that you're most awake at night, but the world wakes up early and the school world starts early. So it's quite difficult for a child who sleeps at maybe a later time than normal to get up. And that's why they're asleep on the bus, is because really they're just tired. They just need some extra shut eye.
Of course they do, but there's also something else going on, which is about the culture of the expat lifestyle. In Dubai and Abu Dhabi are no doubt the same to some extent, which is people do things in the evenings. People move here often for lifestyle reasons. So people do go out to eat. Children, as you probably well know, we all well know, do lots of things in the evening, sports, mainly sports, clubs. There's a whole network of clubs of every shape, of every size, and children are doing that after school. So sometimes, just pure energy levels, some of these youngsters are working, physically working. As an adult, I think we would feel it to do the amount they do. It's great that they're doing it. It's a lifestyle choice, but you have to be mindful. If you're playing football, if you're playing basketball to 9 o'clock in the evening, the time you get home, the time you get to bed, the time you get up, and these are, I'm talking teenagers here, but when you go younger, everybody's doing something. We do many things in school. Our extended day was designed to be a one-stop shop approach. So parents could do something after school, the sports, for example, or creative stuff, or languages. And maybe that would just be enough. They don't have to drive across Dubai to go to do another club. Some still do. But it was also an acknowledgement genuinely of family values, because, it's called breakfast. Eat with your children, sit around the table, have a discussion about what the day ahead is going to bring. And I think those special moments are important in growing up. You remember those things with your mum, with your dad. One of the byproducts has been fascinating of the later start. We have lots and lots of dads dropping children off. Less, if you like, drivers or, bus travel. And I don't know if I've captured the dad market, but I think a lot of dads quite clearly are dropping children off and then going off to work. And they've built their day, almost building their own day around our times. And also I do see transactions going on in the school, parents in there, down in the cafe areas, working, doing serious deals, it seems to me. I don't know really what they do, but there's a lot of going on, a lot of technology things going on. So there's been a lovely spin-off that we've tried to genuinely give family time, because actually one of our mottos, we've got quite a few, but one of our big ones is that we are a family-first school. And we also believe strongly that, families that come, and we have 88 nationalities of children, for instance, children from all over the world, no dominant culture in the school. We create our own community, and with that, we try to give parents that infrastructure support that new families to the country that may not have backup, may not have grandparents down the road. We try to create all that kind of backup too. And so having time at the beginning and the end of the day and through the day for some parents to meet each other, provides, I think, some kind of scaffolding to their lives as much as it does to children's lives.
Yeah, it's interesting because you never think of those things as considerations for school, expats coming over, not having a backup, kind of helping them to form that network that will help them in times of need. That's quite thoughtful of the school. Tell me a little bit more about what you are doing as it relates to teacher well-being, because if you have those days that are extended, how do the staff work into that? Do they have to come early? Do they come late? Well, what happens around staff?
All of the above, to be honest. I suppose we do have a culture of work hard, play hard kind of culture. I do accept that. I think we demand a lot of our teachers, but I feel comfortable that what we try to do in terms of their own personal well-being is two things, three things maybe, but certainly the big things are that later start. If you're not working, if you're not taking something before school, you're expected to do one after school event per week. That may be in the morning sessions, it may be in the afternoon sessions. If that's the case, you can arrive in the building at 8:30. Okay, so that Dubai style, that's a bit later than most places. And obviously after school, if you're not doing anything, you can go as soon as you possibly can. So we're quite, we work hard during that period. But we also do other things. We have some teachers on quite flexible times. They don't teaching so early in the morning, they come in a bit later. We actually don't have everybody on the same timetable because with now our creation of a pre-university centre, that's what we've created for our older students. We've chosen those words carefully. Some of their timetables are a bit longer, some in the afternoons. To fit everything in their day, they've got big days. So we don't expect the teachers to actually, if they're teaching late, to come in early. So we do things like that. We also build in, literally into our schedule, a well-being day for teachers. We actually give them a day to take to a deep breath day, as we sort of call it. You can take a day in lieu when you need it, and we build that into our timetable. So we have that, and we try to do that a couple of times a year. That's quite challenging as we've got bigger. That's a demand. But moreover than all of that, it's just day-to-day care for teachers. I'm very fortunate to have a leadership team that do, I think, provide a lot of opportunities for staff. We've got this, literally, I've just come out of a meeting now where we're planning a not everybody's cup of tea, but a mindfulness yoga session next Friday. Our Friday mornings, we don't have any students in school early. Everybody starts at 9. Teachers come in a bit early, and we tend to do a well-being kind of session on those days. And you can go on. We do lots of things which we've built into the budget, for example. We've built opportunities in the budget to do team building and or social events. We do a social event at every opportunity at the beginning and end of term. We don't expect people to pay for that. We just provide that sort of sociability, particularly at the start of the school year when we're building. We've got 35 new teachers starting again, but all on growth. We have 90%. Currently, we have a 90% retention rate. Which is phenomenal, remarkable for a school in Dubai, I think. We have a consistent and solid, for the third year now, leadership team. So we must be doing some things right about people feeling the culture of working hard, playing hard, but to some extent they are heard and listened to. And they have a big say in the running of the school. Democracy rules okay most of the time. And I think what we do have, and I won't go on, we have quite a lot of experienced teachers who are attracted to this way of working. They've done other things. And our average age, I would say, for teachers is actually a bit older than some schools I've worked in the past. And I think as we have with parents, we have attracted those families that have made a very conscious choice for this kind of education for their child. As we've attracted, and we have no problem, we are packed with offers and applications for any job. I just think we attract those kind of teachers that want to make a difference and are quite prepared to try something in a different way. I failed to mention something really, really important. We give genuinely yes, heavy work, heavy teaching responsibilities, but we give significant playing time within to link it through some of the AI things that we may talk about. We give notable planning time to teachers to work together and plan together. And that is because, if I go right, that's the beginning. When we offer children choices in the afternoon, we can actually take some teachers out of those choices and just give them planning time because other teachers are providing the lessons. And that's particularly in junior school where traditionally you've got the same teacher delivering everything. We don't do that. That builds in time for colleagues to plan. And you ask any teacher, that's their biggest stress, planning. And obviously, particularly for some of the older teachers of older students, time to assess and a time to give feedback and mark. So we try to build a lot of that into the working day. So yeah, teacher first stuff is really important for us.
Yeah, it's good to hear because I know schools do, as you talk about, pride themselves on customization. Some say personalization, more say personalization than they do customization, really. But I always, as a teacher, in the back of my mind, wonder sort of, okay, I understand what that means for a parent, but what does it mean for a teacher? So today's topic is about implementing ethical AI in education and in schools. And I know that you guys are doing something different with AI. Can you talk to me about how Bloom World Academy is implementing this accredited AI course? First of all, why and how?
Yeah. Well, you go back a couple of years, really, realistically speaking. The writing was on the wall, as they say. AI was coming into town, and we had to genuinely grab it. I didn't quite work out why others didn't do it. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not particularly technical or digital driven. I appreciate it in others, not necessarily myself so much, but I appreciate, the abilities of others to grasp this thing. But it just seemed to me, and look, let's be blunt. Let's be super, super blunt about this. Education has not moved fast enough or adapted quickly enough to the demands and needs, I think, of the current generation of young people, probably several generations worth, actually. In many schools, we are still doing the same. They do the same they may have done 20 years ago, literally. All right, topics might have changed, the dates might have changed, but the content wouldn't have changed or doesn't change. It really doesn't. And you've got to remember, the generation of teachers that are teaching in that kind of way have been teaching for a number of years too. So not a lot changes, despite a plethora of initiatives out there. In Dubai, I think it's compounded because majority or a significant number is changing slowly. Abu Dhabi, just the same. A number of people who have worked here have worked elsewhere. You would think on the surface that means they bring things in to the country. I would argue that some of them, if they've been on the international schools circuit, may not be as up to date as they think they are. The heart of real innovation now is in some of I have to say, in places like London, in places like Paris, where cities have really had to adapt to the greater demands of students. And we're not just on that pace. Some of us are, I think we're in touch. Some of us think we're in touch anyway. But going back to your point, your question, we genuinely felt 2 years ago AI was coming into town. There was no way this was not going to get into schools, either via the teacher and teacher planning or ultimately for the student. And what we really thought was, most importantly, was, if you really take the gap between what's going on in industry or creative professions, any industry really, the gap between what's going on there and what's going on in school is that, in my experience of 30 years of running schools, is the greatest ever. We've always played catch up with technology. We've always played catch up with the latest new element of technology. Always schools have, but someone's got to teach this stuff. And you've got to get your teachers from somewhere who are as creative and technical as the colleagues out there in industry. And they're out there and they're young and they're not just, time-served people. They're creative. That's been encouraged in industry for a long time, but not so much in schools. So we sort of took that on board. And I just tried to, as I mentioned earlier, it's not such been young people. It's been the creative and technical types that have tried to get into the school. And it was obvious we had to offer something so we can bridge that gap between education and industry. And then the other thing that schools mention so much is the AI ethics issue. It's always about stop children cheating, plagiarizing. And we are an IB school. And the brilliant thing about an IB school is it's skills-based. You choose your own content. You can talk all day about, in a school of 88 nationalities, when you're teaching, what do you teach? Whose history do you teach? Whose geography do you teach? We've all got different perspectives. And that's the most wonderful thing about an IB school. That's true internationalism. But skills unite the children. We need teachers who can teach those skills. And we just felt that we can no longer really catch children out and stop them cheating. A while ago, you could, of course you could, for many years now, you could get technology to help you write a long study. And you have lots of long studies in the IB framework. But AI now can write with mistakes. It can write in your style. So once you start get to that point, you have to start thinking, let's embrace AI rather than try to fight against it. So we have really looked at what skills and what elements of AI you need to understand. And it was obvious you can spend any energy doing that as a student, you might as well get a certificate to go with it. Let's face it, if it moves, let's give them a certificate. Let's give them something in their backpack as they go through education. Let's not just wait until you're 16 or 18 or 19 to get those big exams. Let's not wait. Let's get things on the journey. So we started and we're offering a number of programs. We have researched many, and we decided for our oldest students, we would offer a BTEC program. High level, it's going to stretch us. And subsequently, what we've discovered is BTEC can't keep up with us. The BTEC program isn't appropriate to deliver to sort of 14 to 16-year-olds. It was much more geared to maybe 22-year-olds who want to go into the accounting industry. And I'm not exaggerating, that's how it was going. So we're regrouped on this, and now we are in partnership with Code School Finland. And as many know, the Finnish education system is always been lauded as a great success story. We're the only school, I believe, that I've linked with Code School Finland, which is effectively the Finnish system of accrediting AI programs. And we're delivering that program to our 14 to 16. Next year, it will be our 14 to 18s. And on top of that, this is the most exciting news, effectively, we will be delivering a version of AI on what's called a spiral-based curriculum from our very youngest. So our very youngest, our 4-year-olds, will be dipping into the world of AI and how to use it. And a spiral curriculum means you just come back to things year on year, but at the right level, ultimately culminating in certification. So, yeah, we've delivered it now to our eldest. It's really good. I mean, I'll give you an example. I know I'm talking a lot on this, but it's really has worked. A group of our students have just won a Dubai-wide prize in AI ethics debating competition, and won an internship in one of the leading law firms within Dubai, because we have been working with them, I believe, not me personally, on the ethics of AI. These children are informed. And mark my words, we have a generation of children, much maligned, I have to say, but these teenagers, more than any other group, and I've been through many groups over the years, this group will change the world. They will be there because they aren't, certainly the ones we've got, they have a moral compass. They have ethical views of the world. They've grown up in a period where the environment, particularly, as you know, but also AI now has asked questions of them. Social media, how to look after yourself on social media. For a big group of students, they get it. And my job, I think, as a progressive educator, is to realize that these are the things that are going on in their lives. And our ambition is that we not just protect children from these things, we encourage them to really use them as powerfully as they can. But the flip side is also to know when they're being used, when they personally are being used by AI. We do a lovely thing on how many times has your face been seen today? You know, camera recognition all over the place, in our school, on the way to school, in the supermarket. And it's, you know, when you start thinking about that, that's all AI. It's all generating information about you somewhere. I think it's a big question to put to students about how they feel about that. That's the ethical side. And then the other side is, why bother? Why do they need all this information? And the other question is, okay, how do you do that then? How do they do that then? And the next question after this, what are we going to do with it all? When you start doing that, you naturally have a program already. I've just invented a curriculum by just asking those questions. So yeah, a long answer to say, we would have been irresponsible, I believe, not to have introduced AI to school. I'd flip that question into the other way around. I would be going to the rest of the world, why aren't you doing it? And as we found out, there's been announcements about it being compulsory within the public sector within Dubai. You know, that's a sign. That's a sign that we have to do this well.
Yeah. I'm actually quite interested to learn as well how your teachers are using it. We talked before about time and about the fact that teachers have a lot of planning to do, etc. So first I want to talk about the teachers and then I want to go back to the students. But how are your teachers using AI? Do you know?
Yeah, a lot. That's the answer. The quick answer is a lot.
What are they doing with it?
Planning mainly, using it as planning tools. Space, AI with some teachers started because they were technically able, they were interested, and that's where it started. It's like almost in every other walk of life, you know, people have their interests, and I can name the teachers who may be our champions, you know, that know a bit more than the others, pure personal interest. And then some of that spilled over into a classroom or classrooms who see it genuinely. The other day we did a big presentation to parents. We launched, if you like, what our school is going to be next year. We call it Bloom, you know, Mark 4, #4, our 4th year. What are we going to look like? What are the changes? And we had it was the best from a personal point of view, one we had done in terms of interactive. We asked parents questions in real time. They were able to answer. It was on the screen. We had ways of, you know, making their information graphical before our very eyes. That was one teacher that did that. She led that for us. So we've got that level of skill set. But what has happened slowly but surely, probably not slowly but surely, just fast but surely. Many teachers use it to plan, to circumnavigate hours and hours of researching something, key questions they want to ask in that classroom, word banks, all those kinds of things are generated in a moment. We are a school that's encouraged that to happen through training as well. So all our students on entry, same as our teachers, all the older students get an Apple MacBook, and all our younger students get an iPad. And so digital literacy is taught from the very beginning with our students, how to use this machine. We also train our teachers. So Microsoft Copilot is a big bit of kit we use, teachers. And another big bit of kit we use is in our juniors section of the school. We have, oh gosh, it just left my head. It'll come back to me in a moment. Our teachers are using AI, not just to plan, but particularly to create presentations for students, interactive presentations. And I've seen most recently, which I loved, this was a really good bit of AI work, We've got teachers creating like historical interviews. So you're into one class I observed, they were interviewing Winston Churchill on the origins of the Second World War. And there he was on the screen answering questions as Winston Churchill to their answers. In fact, it was like a real live interview where AI had generated the image, obviously used his language. But that could be misused if it was in the hands of a great teacher who was coaching the children on the kinds of questions that you should ask. So there was a real role for the teacher in that sort of three-way relationship in that room. So our teachers use it a lot, and a lot more, I'll be honest with you, a lot more than I originally knew. When I thought, oh, this is a great idea, some of them just looked at me and said, yeah, of course we do. So that was great. They'd moved on themselves. But we definitely have, I would say, 7 or 8, maybe a little bit more champions of this. The go-to people where they really know how to manipulate the AI technology that we have, their way around things. Because at the moment, I've got to tell you, we are bombarded in schools, bombarded by companies that want to come and train you up or offer AI-based services. And it's quite difficult to navigate your way through. Every one of them look quite good. But so we've invented a bit of our own, and we're taking our chances, of course. But, there's something, I'm sure that by the time that I've finished this meeting with you, there'll be something else on my desk about AI. It's that busy about AI all the time.
Quick question. Are there any downsides to this?
Yeah, I know. Good question. I think it's the best question. I think it's really important. The downside is making sure you maintain a blended economy of learning. The downside, it might be too easy to revert to AI coming up with your answer. We've got a book fair going on just outside my office this week. Real books, touchy-feely real books. There is definitely a massive appetite with parents and with learners to still be able to, particularly with parents, particularly for children to be in touch with real books. Particularly, they want their children to have writing skills, the lost art of cursive handwriting. Still in demand, actually. So that old and the new come together. They still want children to be very articulate, of course. They want children to be verbally articulate. That we can do, and that goes well with AI anyway, because that's about how you interrogate AI. But the downside might be maybe the lost art of handwriting, the workbook, organizing yourself in a sustained, we find with older students, writing at length. And we're going to have to work hard at that blended economy to make sure that technology, not just AI, by the way, but technology doesn't over-dominate. So I say to parents all the time, we have a blended economy here. Your children will learn to write here. They will leave you a note on the kitchen table saying they're going to be late rather than just texting you. We will have that kind of value to, dare I say it, more traditional skills. So you've got to be mindful as a school that you can swing too much way, too much screen time, too much reverting to the quick route. However, my quip back, if I went full circle, would be to say to you, I think artificial intelligence, and we have a phrase here to explain all what I've just said. We talk about the other AI, authentic intelligence. We have AI, authentic intelligence, and AI, artificial intelligence. We value both, and we value authentic intelligence because that's the child learning and developing their own skills. They're growing their own brain to actually raise, ultimately, their levels of intelligence to be able to manipulate and use artificial intelligence to its maximum. So the two go together, and this is how I articulate it to parents. We do authentic intelligence, we do artificial intelligence, and the two can go very neatly together. But what you've got to do as an education establishment, really got to do, is think about it, to step back and say, what do young learners really need? And you've got to be brave enough. I was in a conference yesterday, spoke to lots of people and said, how did you do that? Why did you do that? And I said, well, we're very lucky because we were initially a new school and we didn't have to convince anybody. We've just gone for it and we're being supported. But you've got to, as school leaders, have got to take risks in this area. They've got to take risks, I think.
Yeah. I think it is a matter of balancing, like you said, some of the older things that we do in education with some of the more modern things, including AI, without losing what education is all about. And I think education is about humanity. So as much as we want to embrace artificial intelligence, there is that human side. So my final question to you is, apart from artificial intelligence skills or the skill to use it effectively, what other skills do you think students will need in this very tech-driven future that's ahead of them?
Well, almost unquestionably and undoubtedly, they need join them together. But there's probably three big things that we promote that I think we've really considered that children need in this technical world that we currently live in anyway. And goodness knows ultimately how more technical it will get in due course, or technological it will get. I still think the art of communication, what you and I are doing now, whether it's on a screen, screen skills actually are quite important skills. Can you interact generally over a screen? But moreover, those communication skills close up, those ability to interact, to talk to anybody about anything. And I think one of the things we promote, real globalization, real internationalism, is based on, and it went out of fashion, but I'm re-promoting it, general knowledge. We talk about skills all day long. You can learn skills. Skills do allow you to manipulate information, do allow you to access information. But sometimes you just got to know stuff. You just got to know stuff. And if you know a bit about any, whoever you're talking to, you know a little bit about their world, about the city they came from, the football team they support. If you know a little bit, it breaks down the barrier. It makes the overlap happen. I say to the students, or certainly the older ones, when you go to university and you're sitting in that university refectory, that university bar, you're going for your first sports team trial. If you can break down a barrier by knowing something about the guy next to you, where he's from, that will get you everywhere. When you go to an interview for a job and you're able to talk about the wider things in the world, really powerful. So general knowledge, we must not lose the art of knowledge gathering. And that's to be interested. That allows you, I believe, to do or grow networks. Networks is a bit of a dirty word. You could just say friendships. It allows you, and these children in international schools have, they have friends already from all over the world. It's more of a case of how they maintain them. Which ends up in a place which is, in my opinion, is we call it, the skills, if you like, or the aptitude and attitude to deal or navigate through an ever-changing world. But in more colloquial terms, it's knowing what to do when you don't know what to do skills. That combines a whole multitude of things: resilience, resistance, the sun will come up tomorrow skills, optimism, okay? It's not the end of the world, we can solve it, because you do get crisis management, but it's often created by social media. You have crisis management, it's the end of the world stuff because something on social media is really upsetting. So there's the skills to be able to navigate away from that, solve it, and then, if you like, develop the one thing which is absolutely fundamental in life. You've got someone to turn to. How do people get out of problems? How do you navigate through a difficult world? You often know someone who will help you. Often maybe a member of the family. Not always. not always. It's called friendships. It's called connections. And that is, they are built on generally, but I would say they are built on general knowledge, knowing something about someone else's world, empathy. They're built on communication skills, that you can articulate that and express yourself. And it's built on the ability to be optimistic and bright, and we're going to solve it skills. That's, I believe, the children we have got at Bloom World Academy. We are growing those skills alongside or in parallel with the massive technical shift that's going on in education about how children learn, and possibly even, why they should learn certain things. So going back to, put a neat bow on our conversation, what I would say, where we started off about what's unique about, what's special about Bloom World Academy, is that we generally and genuinely, it's child-centered education. We absolutely need to work with our young people and our families about those twin, to me, those twin bastions of being a very competent survivor in this very challenging world. Know your technical stuff, but also know your human stuff, your interrelation stuff, your communication stuff. And what is the capital of, I don't know, Switzerland or something? Just know stuff, because it will help you. At some point will genuinely come into play in your life. And people love knowing that you know a little bit about them. So that's what I think is really important in more, if you like, old-fashioned skills or recycled skills that perhaps we just take for granted. But we have actually highlighted them, those future-proofing skills for children, alongside the other side, which is obviously all the future-proofing skills you need around understanding AI. So authentic and artificial coming together.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, John.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been nice. Good questions. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're most welcome.